What is going on, YouTube? Lamont at large. Today, I'm coming to you from Kent State University in Kent, Ohio. We are about 40 miles south of Cleveland, and I'm here to show you the location of the May 4th massacre that occurred on this campus during some protests about the Vietnam War. So let me explain a little bit about what happened on that day. So you had a bunch of protesters on that day. That was a very divisive time in our country's history. You had many millions and millions of Americans who were totally against the Vietnam War. Richard Nixon, president at the time of this protest, of this shooting, was not a very popular man. Now, he wasn't a super pro-war president. A lot of people don't know this, but John F. Kennedy and Lyndon B. Johnson, they were the ones that were dumping in troops in mass numbers for the Vietnam War effort, which of course is a very unpopular war that has been, felt throughout the decades. You had young men and women coming home from war, right? They didn't choose to go to war. They had to go there because, they were drafted. You had a lot of these kids coming back with physical, psychological scars, and they would come back to their towns, and a lot of people would shun them. They would be spat on as they got off airplanes. I mean, it was really ridiculous. And at that time, President Nixon had been elected president, with one of his campaign promises was to end the war in Vietnam. But instead of doing that, he ordered an invasion of Cambodia. And that's why this protest was being conducted, was over that decision to invade Cambodia. So on May 4th, 1970, you had several hundred students all in this area right here, all throughout right here, and they were out here protesting. Now, history is going to say that it was, of course, a mostly peaceful protest, and I'm sure it was, but you also had a lot of students going around the campus to different businesses in the area, breaking windows and looting. And let me just say this, the National Guard was not called because these kids were out here giving each other flowers. They were breaking windows. Some of them were throwing rocks, not all of them, but some of them were throwing things towards the police. That's why the National Guard was called in. And as the National Guard came up from that hill over there, and they were basically walking the kids back, they were firing tear gas at them, and a lot of the kids were picking up the canisters of tear gas and throwing it right back at them. And for some odd reason, unknown reason, whether you want to believe the people on that side or the people on this side, some say that there was a report that somebody, possibly a sniper that was in maybe one of these buildings, had fired a shot at the National Guardsmen. I'm not really sure. That's just more or so hearsay. But you had 77 guardsmen with rifles took aim, and out of those 77 guardsmen, later on 29 admitted that they actually fired from their rifles, striking 13 students, killing 4 and wounding 9. Now you'll see these markers right here in the parking lot where you can't park. Each of these is a memorial to the kids that got killed, and this is where they died. This is where their bodies lied. This is Sandra Schuer. This is her memorial. This is where she was shot and killed. She was shot in the neck, and she bled out within a couple minutes. Moving over here, this is the memorial for William Schroeder. He ended up still being alive when they found him, they transported him to a hospital in Ravenna, and he died in surgery. So over in this memorial right here, this is where Alison Krauss was shot and killed. She was shot in the chest, and she practically died instantly. And probably some would say the most haunting of all of these killings was of Jeffrey Miller. You had a picture that was taken. Actually, the original picture is, I believe, in the library building, which I think it's over there. It's on the 11th floor. And if you ever come out here, you can see the original photograph. But that photograph, I mean, when you look up this story, that's the photograph you see. And this is where he was shot and killed. His head would have been right there. He was shot in the mouth. He was killed instantly. And the person that took the photograph would have took the picture standing right where I'm at, right about there. Very heavy right here, very, very heavy. If you look up this hill right here, you can see where other people were shot. The black flag signifying that, you know, we're giving up. And you have another marker right there where somebody else was killed, Thomas Grace. Next to this solar totem right here is another place where somebody was wounded. I believe one of the wounded, I'm not sure which one, was paralyzed. And if you see where that little structure is right there, that is right around where the National Guardsmen fired their rifles from. Who knows what possessed them to fire upon unarmed civilians. And there's a marker right here that shows where they started shooting from. A very, very nasty day in our nation's history, and those kids not even 300, not even 100 yards down right there. In case anybody is wondering what happened to the men who fired their rifles upon those kids on that day, and if they ever faced any kind of justice or were arrested, there was an inquiry that was held by the state of Ohio as to what happened on that day. And there was some form of testimony going on during the closed door meetings. However, the U.S. Army and the Pentagon had no control or any say in what mattered, because the National Guardsmen were ordered here by then Ohio Governor James Rhodes, and all the men who fired their rifles were all exonerated. Whatever your political affiliation is, at the end of the day, this shooting, this abhorrent act that was, you know, done upon those innocent victims, and that's what they were, was in my opinion, was just a black mark on our nation's history. And you know, it's one thing, yeah, you can protest, yeah, they're telling you to go home, yeah, they're warning you, yes, I totally understand that. However, to start firing your weapons at unarmed kids who, okay, they're yelling at you, maybe one of them threw a rock at you, I mean, that is no excuse to go ahead and commit this horrible acts of murder upon these kids. Because, you know, I believe two of these kids weren't even protesting. They were just here walking by. Now, I don't know if that's hearsay or what have you, you know, but we live in a nation where it is our God-given right to be able to protest, you know, as long as you're not breaking things and throwing things and hurting people. You have a right for your voice to be heard. And this country, I am an American. I am very pro-America. I think this is the greatest country that ever existed. Have we done bad things in the past? Yes, we have, and I do acknowledge that. However, there is no other country on the planet that I'd rather be than right here in the United States. And many tens and hundreds of thousands of men and women have died throughout the course of our nation's history to be able to give us the freedom to where we can say and do whatever we want within the limits of the law without facing retribution. Acts like this. Rest in peace to all of the victims of this tragedy. Okay, guys, I'm Lamont at large. I will catch up with you on the next vlog. Nobody will ever park their car in these spots ever again. Ever again. God bless, guys. I'll see you later. Peace. Peace.